scared. Why are you scared, Micah? Use your words. Why are you scared?
I'm not going to use my words, Jordan, but I'll wonder if you'll hear my thoughts.
Oh.
Today we're talking about Chaos Walking on the Macabre Podcast universe because what do we do every year, Jordan? Tell me about what we do on Halloween every year as a tradition.
We watch a movie that was supposed to kickstart a franchise, but bombed so terribly there are no other entries.
That's exactly what we do, eloquently put, because what's scarier to a Hollywood producer than a failed movie franchise? Now, these are just quick little bonus extra episodes, you know what I'm saying? So, as such, we definitely watched this movie. Boy, did we watch it. But this was a tough movie to watch.
Like, pretty immediately.
I mean, pretty immediately, I thought, like, oh, it's amazing that they even made any money on this.
I know. It's wild.
And so, this movie came out this year. Now, just to kind of show you, I think most people don't even know what this movie is or even heard about this movie.
I feel like I remember when the trailer came out, people were like, what is going on?
Sure.
But I think the trailer I saw was kind of like a teaser.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to have questions, but I feel like it was just like everyone was so confused and not in a good way.
Well, much like this movie, the teaser, I'm sure, I did not see the teaser, but it was probably like, here's a bunch of questions, but no real good answers.
Uh-huh.
Was that about right?
Yeah.
Because this movie was like, here's all these ideas, but we're not really going to explain any of them.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to talk about it. So the first year we had this podcast, we covered Fantastic Four 2015. Josh Trank's movie, a unequivocally horrible movie.
Yeah.
Then last year we covered Mortal Engines, and we were excited to find that the movie's kind of good.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bummer that they can't make more.
Like a fun homage to so many directors.
Yeah,
that we know and love.
Yeah. It has major problems, but like it should not have bombed as bad as it did because it was like better than a lot of blockbuster movies.
And especially, in my opinion, young adult vein.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But this is like, okay, you hear it's a bomb, you go and you watch it. And I mean, like Jordan said, first scene, it was like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hardly believe this already.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about this because there's.
And I will say, I have so many questions about it that I'm sure the book explains.
Uh-huh.
And that is kind of the issue with the watching a movie of a franchise that never got started because they're never able to answer these questions.
Yeah.
But I got so many of them.
Yeah. So let's just start off talk about who made it. Like we usually do. So we have Doug Liman as the director. Now, he has a very storied career. This guy directed Swingers, The Bourne Identity, Edge of Tomorrow, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, American Made, the Tom Cruise movie where he's doing drugs.
You said Oblivion.
I think I misspoke on that one.
Oh, okay. But he's an action guy.
Yeah. A competent director, if nothing else. And then we have a screenplay by Patrick Ness, who's the author of the book.
Okay.
And he wrote the screenplay for A Monster Calls.
Okay.
And then Christopher Ford, who we've talked about on this podcast because he did the screenplay for Spider-Man Homecoming. One of the people.
Okay.
Then we have cinematography by Ben Saracen, who I was actually ready to like kind of dig into this guy because I thought this movie looked really, really bad. Mm-hmm. It looked like TV. Mm-hmm. There was nothing unique about it. Mm-mm. So I thought maybe that falls on the cinematographer, but the guy's done Godzilla vs. Kong, which
a very stylized movie.
Yeah, very fun. The Mummy, which also kind of shares more in common with this than Godzilla and Kong, cinematography-wise. Unstoppable, Pain and Gain. The guy's done a lot. Mm-hmm. So I actually don't want to peg him too hard on this one.
Got it.
And then here's what's insane. So as you've been listening, this month of October, we've been covering Fear Street, and by the time this came out, we're already on episode probably 2 or 3 of Scream. Mm-hmm. And all of those movies have a score by Marco Beltrami, and this movie has a score by Marco Beltrami.
Weird.
So it is the month of Beltrami.
Yeah.
And then he also has Brandon Roberts on the score, who did Fear Street 1994 and 1666
What?
with Marco Beltrami.
What a dream come true for that guy, right?
Yeah. So now let's talk about the nitty gritty. We got the people out of the way. This is where it gets fun, Jordan. So the movie came out this March 5th, 2021. For all of you listening, you go, it did?
Yeah.
Can you just take a stab at what you think the budget of this movie is?
You told me it was like,
I misspoke.
oh, is it really expensive?
Yes.
Is it like 100 million?
It's 100 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it made?
So here in the U.S., on a $100 million budget, it made $13 million. And then worldwide, this is including the U.S., of course. Adding it all together, it made 26.9.
Ooh, that's bad.
So made
that's a
way
big,
less than half.
Do you think this movie turned into you hear about movies doing poorly so production companies can take a loss?
Yeah.
Did it turn into that at some point during production?
Maybe. But, well, I would say no, because they invested a lot of money in the reshoots.
Yeah.
So let's really get into it. I wish there was more. I wish there was like an expose. There's just a lot of like, it's just very matter of fact of how this all went down. But it's one of those things where it's like, you wish someone was like on set documenting this from the beginning, because it'd be a fascinating documentary. So in October 2011, Lionsgate gets the right to film a movie out of the Chaos Walking trilogy. So they're working on Hunger Games. I think Hunger Games is 2012? The first one? Something like
2012?
that.
No.
No?
No, I think we were like, because that mean we'd be like graduating high school.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
I guess a lot of them were coming out when I was in college.
Yeah.
It's hard because I never read the books, so like I don't really know, but sure, 2012. So when the dystopian craze really took off.
Yeah, so they're like, we're about to do this movie, and they go, let's get another one. So they get the rights in 2011. And it sounds like, I know that our whole emphasis of the Halloween episode is it's supposed to launch a franchise, but it sounds like they got the rights to do one movie on the trilogy.
Yeah.
So that's already kind of a bad idea.
I don't get that. Like, were they having a hard time with the author or the publishing company to like secure rights? So they just did one of them, or they only were willing to pay money for one, and then if it did well, they'd pay for the others?
I wish I knew.
It's so weird. And then because as we were watching it, I looked up what the series is about, because I had to know. And it's very different.
Yeah.
Based on the plot summary.
It sounds much better. It still sounds pretty bad, I would say, though.
Sure, but like for young adult, not really, in my opinion. I don't read young adult anymore. I don't really like it. But from what I'm reading, we'll just talk about it later. Keep going. Okay.
So Lionsgate gets the rights, and then in 2012 they hire Charlie Kaufman to make a script. Like being John Malkovich, I'm thinking of Ending Things. Adaptation. They're like, we got Charlie Kaufman. Now, on the surface, that actually makes a lot of sense. As
a joke.
Well, in regards to, this is a movie about people where you can read their thoughts, and he is very good at expressing internal dialogue.
But this is the question I have, because he's so out there, and I like him. He's very out there.
Yeah.
Does very interesting things. Could he make something for young adults though?
Yes, and
I'm not so sure.
I think probably not. I think he's much too complicated for young adults. But having said that, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that makes sense in theory. In practicality, I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, again, this is why I wish there was like a documentary crew. He just is not a part of the project. There's not like a reason why. I couldn't find anything about it. Allegedly, there's a script online of his, but you never know how if those are real or not.
Yeah.
So they pass, and then they just they go through like a ton of people just trying to make this script
Oof.
over and over and over and over. So then they shoot the movie in 2017. Jordan, this movie came out in 2021.
Wow.
They shot it in 2017. And
how would you feel if you were Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley? And like in 2017, Star Wars had come out. Well, it's coming out, whatever, that year. And then Spider-Man Homecoming's come out at that point.
I think that summer Spider-Man Homecoming came out.
So, like, they're on the cusp of greatness.
Yeah.
And it is like they're doing everything they can.
Uh-huh.
Money's being thrown their way. Their agents are scrambling, trying to, like, make the right move.
Here's a franchise.
Here's another franchise. It's young adult. You guys would still fit in it. Do it. And then they do it, and then it takes years for it to come out. So now it's at a point where it's like, why would they be in this movie?
Exactly.
And then you just answer the question.
Yes.
Ugh.
And there's more to that. So, and here's why. Because when Jordan and I were watching this, Mads Mikkelsen shows up, and we go, what is Mads Mikkelsen doing in this movie? But if you think about it, 2016, he comes off of Doctor Strange. He's doing some more American roles.
Oh, okay. I thought of Doctor Sleep when you said that.
No, Doctor Strange. So it would make sense that around the time they finish production on Doctor Strange, he's like, let me do another American movie.
Okay, wait. What does American Breakout, in your opinion?
Oh, it's definitely Casino Royale.
Oh, okay.
Like 100%.
Okay. Keep going.
And then he's done many others since then, but he's still, he's very much a Danish actor.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense that an agent's like, okay, you just did Doctor Strange. Let's do another movie like this.
Yeah.
And then Cynthia Erivo was in this movie.
Yeah,
which
that was
shocking.
Actually, more shocking than Mads Mikkelsen.
Absolutely.
For me, that was the most shocking.
But then I think about it and I go, wait, if this was shot in 2017, in the past 4 years, she has gotten so famous. But in 2017, she wasn't that famous. So it would make sense that she would sign up for this movie.
Yeah. Hannibal came out between 2013 and 2015.
Okay.
So still a little surprised about it. But I guess, this is a big franchise. Hopefully the kids start to a big young adult franchise. Maybe it's not that crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I get the play. I wouldn't get it now.
And he was in Rogue One in 2016.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So this makes sense. He's getting into some franchises. He's getting some paydays,
Yeah.
But yeah, the Cynthia Erivo one, I was like shocked by it. Like, why would she choose this? And then when I found out it was shot 4 years ago, it totally makes sense.
That's a bummer for everyone. I mean, not really. No one's going to know that they were ever in this movie.
The only people who are going to know are the people who listen to this episode.
That's true.
Because nobody saw this movie. It is on Hulu if you're curious. So, shot the movie in 2017. They start doing screen tests. And the producers say it's unreleasable. The screen tests are so poor. Like, no one is liking this movie. So, they decide to do reshoots. And so
we love them.
Oh, yeah. We love reshoots. And they were going to do them in 2018. But Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley were shooting little old movies called Spider-Man Far From Home and Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Kind of a big deal. Ever heard of it?
So they had to push them back a year. So then they had to shoot the reshoots in 2019, April. And it cost $15 million for reshoots. And among that, Doug Liman didn't even shoot the reshoots. It was a different director. And it's I didn't put his name down, but he's the director who directed Don't Breathe and the newest Evil Dead.
Okay.
So then they're like, okay, then we can release it in 2020. Pandemic.
Isn't that just a sign? Like, shouldn't that be like, okay, guys, curtains
on this? And I mean, so they basically reshoot. I mean, extensive reshoots to me means they probably reshot probably more than 50% is my guess. And surprisingly, I did not notice like which parts were reshot because a lot of times when movies are made herky jerky like this, you can tell.
I almost feel like the more FX heavy scenes were the reshoots
They probably were.
because they're pretty inexcusable for how bad they were. Here's a question I have.
Yes, please.
So when an actor is hired to do a role, and they do it, and they get paid, and their contracts and all that stuff, and then there are reshoots, do they get paid on top of that?
I have no idea.
I bet that's in contract stuff.
But I bet that they have like a clause that's like, because reshoots are normal.
Yeah, I know it is. That's why I'm curious. So it's like, but I guess you could potentially. I wonder if some actors negotiate if there are reshoots is this much per day.
I bet if you are a famous actor,
yeah,
like a
no,
big
I'm not
actor.
just saying anybody. I'm not saying anybody, but if that's negotiated at times.
Yeah, but no, it would make sense though if or it'd be the kind of thing where it's like just in the contract it says like we're gonna pay you $7 million, and if we do reshoots for 2 weeks, you're gonna get an extra $1 million.
Yeah,
or something like that. So it's like you for sure get this, and you have a chance to like basically get a bonus. Next year. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Call in if you know. And then so that is how the movie was made. But then I saw this astounding fact that you know, all of this is crazy, but this shook me to my core. And it was just an IMDb trivia, and it just said Nick Jonas spent 7 months perfecting his Southern accent for the role.
buddy, it's time.
It's time to call it a wrap on your acting career.
Let's just be done with it, Nick.
He's very, very bad because he was in the Jumanji movies.
Yeah.
And when, like, the movies come to a screeching halt anytime he shows up in any scene.
Yeah.
He's astoundingly horrible.
Well, this was my take on him at this point. So he's in Jumanji, and it's, you know, a cameo. It's very, you know, it is very much like Nick Jonas. Where's he been all this? Like, this is kind of a funny cameo. I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
And he's also in the next one, I think, too, for a brief, which was
No, for a lot.
Okay, yeah, he was in the next one, too. And it's like, yeah, it was funny when it was a cameo.
Now he's like a main character.
So then in this movie, when he shows up, it's like, dude, you're trying to get started on this acting career, and like you're famous enough to be a cameo in a movie that was really successful, and you can only land these kinds of roles in a really bad young adult sci-fi where you're just like the idiot son.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
Go hang out with your brothers and continue to do music, because you guys there's always a demand for Jonas Brothers stuff.
Yeah.
When they came out a couple years ago with that music video, that song, people went nuts.
They went bonk bonk.
Like, oh, their wives are in it. This is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Go on tour.
But he's certifiably horrible in this, as well as his other two movies. And so that is Chaos Walking and how it was made. So why don't you hit us with those actors? We've talked about Tom.
Cannot believe this is the first time we're covering Daisy Ridley is for this movie. And not Star Wars.
We can skip her if you'd like.
Well, it's really mostly
save her,
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because that's her breakout.
Yeah.
Since then, she's been in things like she's in the Peter Rabbit movies.
She's in Murder on the Orient Express.
Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah. And other stuff that we can get into more deeply later. Let's see who this is. Oh, that's who it is. Okay, so the guy who wears the glasses, Damien Bachir. Do you remember who that is?
Yes. Yeah.
He's in Hateful Eight.
Who is he?
He is
he's
the Spanish guy.
He's Bob.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's Mexican.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I with the beard, I was like, how come I recognize
that
this
makes
person?
sense? And I it's like I recognize his voice more than anything.
Yeah, me too.
Because in Hateful Eight, he has a lot of like clothes on and a bunch of facial hair, and he's kind of like he's hard to distinguish his physical features.
Yeah.
Which
beyond
is
the character.
It's very cool.
David Oyelowo, how do you say that guy?
Oyelowo, right?
Oyelowo.
I think it's Oyelowo.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
He is in Selma, Nightingale, Don't Let Go, The Waterman.
Now,
I guess also Peter Rabbit.
Can we take a brief sidebar? David Oyelowo is one of these actors that is so freaking good at acting. I love the guy, but he is in like 2 good movies. And I wish he'd get another agent or like a new approach to his career or something because he is so good. I mean, Selma, a really good movie. He plays the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and he nails it. And he's so good.
I've still never seen that movie.
It's a good movie.
I know.
And it's like that came out in 2016. He should not be following it up with this movie shot in 2017.
Selma came out in 2016?
Yeah.
Oof.
So it feels like, Selma, from then on, he should have been like the guy that's in like prestige dramas and it's like a Caprio kind of career.
And I gotta say, the character in this movie, absolutely unnecessary.
Totally.
I'm sure it's a character in the book and stuff, but it's obviously adapted so poorly.
Yeah.
This character does nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like, we need a crazy religious fanatic, but he murders people. Yeah. That's just it.
And he's in, I guess the other good movie he's in is Interstellar, because he's the principal at the school.
Oh, I always forget that.
And that's, as far as I can remember off the top of my head, that's like his only 2 good movies.
Dang. That's a bummer. I mean, it probably doesn't help that he's not getting any younger.
Yeah, but, we like to see some miles on our actors,
Mm-hmm.
So who else?
And then Cynthia Erivo. She is in Harriet, Widows, Bad Times at the El Royale, which was my first introduction to her.
Mine too.
And blown away. That movie too I remember when that movie came out, I was a little bit like, whatever, not super interested. And it is kind of like, Jordan, what are you talking about? John Hamm's in that movie. And then my parents rented it one night, and I'm like, I guess I'll just watch it. Who cares? I have nothing better to do. It was good.
It's really
good movie. It's fun.
It's like a new it's a Tarantino kind of movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great movie. Like it surpassed
kind of like a bottle episode kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like 20% better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was great.
And she was really good in it.
Well, and might I say, when that movie came out, it came out around the same time as A Star Is Born and Venom. And I remember on Instagram, I did a poll, and I asked people what I should go see. And I think there were a couple people that were like, you gotta see Bad Times at the El Royale. But I just kind of wanted to see A Star Is Born and Venom. I was doing a double feature, and I did that when I should have skipped
Venom
and seen Bad Times instead.
Oh, you wouldn't have seen A Star Is Born?
No, I should have done A Star Is Born and Bad Times.
Got it.
And skipped Venom.
Got it.
But Venom was a fun movie. It's just not very good.
Got it. She is also in The Outsider playing favorite Holly Gibney. Everyone gasps. And then in a lot of TV.
Okay. Cynthia Erivo's great. She's in Harriet too, which was.
I said Harriet, I think.
I don't know if you did.
She's in Harriet, and she had a song that was nominated for Best Song at the Oscars, and it didn't win. And
that was wild.
It was wild because I don't really care about the songs, but at the Oscars they always perform them. And when she did hers, I was like, "Holy crap, that is good!"
Yeah.
And then Elton John does his thing. No shade thrown to Elton John.
Oh, it's a bad Elton John song,
but it's like, I think it's a legacy award. It's
absolutely
he got his
is.
biopic. Elton John didn't get the Oscar.
It's like Elton John did an Elton John pastiche.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like,
she should have won though. It was
absolutely.
So crazy good. It was. We've covered Mads.
We have.
And I think that is about all I care to talk about.
Yeah.
Just in general.
I mean,
in general.
Okay.
Okay, here's
we
the
don't
thing.
have to go too far into this
I know,
movie.
but I would like to bring this up because I did look up I have to Google it. The movie or the books. Okay. So in this movie, the premise is this is set on a place called New World.
Yeah, it's the New World.
First of all, not okay. Because I just thought it was Earth the whole time, like until they said it wasn't. Why are you calling it New World? Because to me it felt like, this is so far in the future. Apparently at one point I said this is what they should have done, and Micah said you just described After Earth.
Yes.
So, but it's just it's called New World, and it's on a place that looks like Earth. It was not imaginative at all. That being said, so also on this planet, all men's thoughts are visible, can be heard.
Yeah. Which, frankly, is a very stupid idea. Can we just say that?
I think it is. Here's what I think.
I don't even need to give it credit. It's a bad idea.
I know, but it's just one of those things where it's like, clearly it's not to everyone because the books have won a ton of awards.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. Yes.
The books, it says it is set in a dystopian world where all living creatures can hear each other's thoughts, including animals. You can hear animals' thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think the big idea behind it was, which it makes sense for young adults. With you're a kid and your mind's racing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what if they were on display? Like, what would that do to you? How would you act if that was true? And I get that as a premise, but gosh darn it, it was awful in this movie. It was so bad. And like immediately when it started too, it was bad.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I didn't read too much into the synopses of the books, but it does. So it's 3 books. They follow Todd and Viola, which are the 2 main characters of this movie. And the first one is about Todd being forced to flee his town after discovering a patch of silence, free of noise, free of thoughts.
Yeah, better plot.
And it's like, okay, cool. That sounds interesting. And then the next book is Todd being forced to flee his... Oh, wait, that's the first one. The second one is tensions rise as a civil war between 2 opposing factions forms. Sure, that sounds like a good middle book. I know I'm getting too far into it.
Yeah.
But the last book is...
No, you're good.
The indigenous species of New World rebels against the humans just as a ship full of new settlers is set to arrive on the planet. That sounds good.
Yeah, and it sounds like they just kind of cherry-picked little things from each.
And it sounds like there are... The movie made it all about the thoughts. When the books sound like... Yeah, that's like the kicking off point. But it's really about all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's about trying to colonize this planet that's not yours. So there's a lot of settlers and indigenous people stuff going on. And then it has teenage angst in it as well.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. But the movie just made it all about the thoughts.
Yeah.
And it was so boring.
And so here's what I think we should do. Because, this is our bonus episode. And I don't think we should go plot beat by beat. This is a special episode we do every year. It's short and sweet. We know you have a lot of trick-or-treating to do. But so let's just talk about the specific things we think about it or things that happened.
Yeah.
So the first thing is we see that you can hear and see thoughts. And they're portrayed with this kind of rainbowy purple thing above the person's head.
Yeah.
Now, it is one of the most stressful movies you could ever watch.
Yeah, seriously.
Because
maybe that's why I didn't sleep last night.
Maybe it was. Because you will, Tom Holland's walking down the street and you're just hearing...
Down the street?
Yeah.
In the woods?
Yeah, like when he's at, the town and he's, walking down the street. And just the other day. And, he'll see people who are just going, oh, yeah, I gotta, do the chores and I gotta do... And then you're hearing him go... Oh, girls coming from space. And it's all this kind of whispery
the mirror really
sound.
likes me. I'm a good boy. The mirror really likes me. I'm a good boy. It's psychotic.
And so it's going, and I mean, just like we keep saying, the first scene, it was just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if this is worth it for our podcast to watch this movie. I mean, I hate this so much. And then you have 2 actors who are great actors, but they have no chemistry in this movie at all.
No.
And the other thing about the thought thing is only twice did they ever use it in a cool way.
And what was that?
And that was when he imagines that she's kissing him.
Yeah.
And then it fades away and she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of good. And then at the end, when they trick Mads Mikkelsen into thinking all the women that he murdered were there.
Yeah.
And use them as thought projections.
Yeah.
Those 2 things were cool.
The issue though with the script, it's just not written well, is there were so many things that just weren't explained. and I think, well, I wonder if part of it is they were hoping to make more movies.
I'm
Even though
sure
it
if
doesn't
this did,
seem likely.
but I'm sure if this did well, they would have made more.
But the writing's so poor, I don't know if they actually would have answered those questions. But here's something I'm confused on right off the bat.
Yeah.
So there is a colony. There's more than one colony on this planet. Although originally at the beginning of the movie, you think it's just one colony of men on this planet that I thought was Earth for a long time.
Yes.
And then you see Daisy Ridley coming to this planet with other people. And at first it felt like they were going on vacation because they said, "We're landing shortly. Please put your trays back in the upright position."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then it goes wrong. But then I'm just like, how come they wouldn't? Because when she crash lands, she's the only survivor.
By the way, the crash landing, the stuff interior looked like early 2000s TV special effects.
It was truly awful.
Just kind of shaking the camera, and there's like a green screen behind the actor with an air blower in front of them. Go ahead.
But so they crash land, and like she's the only woman in this colony of men, like running for her life. And it's like, how did these people coming down from this big spaceship not know that there was a colony of just men? Because you find out later, like these colonies of people were sent down a long time ago.
Yeah,
how come the spaceship up there is not aware of how they're doing? Because at what point they get to the other colony where Cynthia Erivo is the mayor, and it's men and women in that one, and they're able to coexist together despite the thought thing. And she's like, yeah, we cut off any kind of communication a long time ago. Like, we didn't find it necessary anymore. And it's like, I don't accept that. Clearly, Earth was not doing well, and it was an interstellar situation where we needed to get humans off Earth and find another suitable planet.
Yeah.
And then we find this planet, and you think to just cut off with everyone else? Was it a Revolutionary War situation where it was like, we don't want the king anymore, we're going to create our new government?
Yeah.
But they don't say anything like that? I don't get it. Why would you ever cut off communication? If there are still probably millions of people in space waiting to find a place that's habitable for themselves. Don't get it. Therefore, the whole thing just is so confusing.
Yeah, and these are questions that could have answers. But I think of like this thought idea. This could be potentially like a Philip K. Dick kind of novel, interesting idea. But I think the dystopian reality of it really takes away from exploring what your thoughts being seen means.
Yeah.
Because what if we were like in a futuristic sci-fi Blade Runner-esque Earth, and there is like society, and we're having to grapple with like politicians, we can see their thoughts, or like you're getting experimented on, but people can't, like all of that stuff would be way more interesting than like, I'm on the run and I've never seen a girl before.
Yeah, it's almost like, so there's this really good book called The Power by Naomi Alderman, where
great book.
Seemingly overnight, women develop the power of harnessing electricity.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for the world? Big recommend on that book. So it's almost like,
you'd like it.
Interesting, like, let's say it's still on Earth, still in the future, whatever. And we seemingly overnight, we can hear all of men's thoughts.
Oh,
what does that mean for the world? And they
get the director from Promising Young Woman, and you got a movie right there.
Yeah.
Get Charlie Kaufman to do the script.
Because I will say, I do like the twist of this movie.
Supposed to be a big laughter there, but go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just thinking.
I know.
But the twist I thought was good. With you think that the indigenous people, who they call aliens on this planet, killed all of the women in that colony, in Tom Holland's colony. And then you find out Mads Mikkelsen just killed all the women because they couldn't handle all the women hearing men's thoughts.
Yeah, great idea.
And very interesting.
That's good.
That's the movie alone, I think.
Yeah.
Just show us that whole thing. So that's it. I'm done.
Well, so a couple more things I have, or maybe this is just one more thing. I just think there is this sci-fi thing about planets.
Yeah.
Now, I know on a scientific, factual basis, Earth is a very unique place, and it is so unbelievable that it has all these different geographies and landscapes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that supports life.
It's miraculous.
Yeah.
And if we look at any other planets in our solar system, and I think many, if not all, that we know of outside of our solar system, they usually are like Mars is a desert with big hurricanes, ice planets, stuff like that. But I think, this is just my thought on this, disagree with me, whatever. If you're going to make a movie where you can go to some place that's totally habitable by humans, or if you're just making a crazy fantasy, just consider that you don't have to. You can be you can have more than one landscape on your planet.
Yeah,
it's just a thing that kind of bugs me, especially when you're getting more into like you're leaving the sci-fi and you're getting more into fantasy.
Yeah,
like an Interstellar, it makes sense. I like that the planets are different and all have their unique things, but when I think of something. Like I really think Star Wars personally like set that template where when people are writing sci-fi, they think subconsciously when Empire Strikes Back came out and they went to Hoth and it was an ice planet or an ice moon, I can't remember which. And then it's like, oh, every planet is like Dagobah's a swamp. The
what's one that Luke lives on?
Tatooine. A desert planet.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting. Oh, Endor, forest moon of Endor. It's a forest, So
it's a moon?
That one is a moon, yeah.
That's cool.
But it's like if you're doing fantasy, you don't have to do the Star Wars model.
Uh-huh.
You can like make it an interesting planet. Because I'm kind of sick of like when you watch a sci-fi movie, they go to a planet and it's like, oh, okay, so this is like Greenland or something.
Well, that's like the Alien Covenant movie was the same thing.
Yeah,
they just went to Earth basically.
Yeah,
yeah. It also was hard for me to understand that this is a world where like people, it feels like we're sent down to figure out this planet and populate it.
Yeah,
do the human thing, whether or not that's ethically okay.
Yeah,
because humans need to survive, and we're only in like you said, one area of it the whole time. Like, how long have they been here? And they've only done this much. It's that hard because it's the future is why I'm confused about it. Like, they don't have to be stuck in this forest, right?
Yeah,
unless they were exiles.
Well, they don't do a good job of establishing that like they wouldn't have the resources to build like a better city.
No, they don't tell you that, nothing like that, and there is no intuitive understanding of that either. It's just it is.
Yeah. But
and then they talk about the aliens who are the indigenous creatures on this planet, and we see one of them. And
not a good design.
Not a good design, but like
boring to look at.
Tom Holland fights with it for a second, and then that's it. That's all.
And he's about to kill it, and Daisy Ridley goes, "Don't do that." And he's like,
it's
"Okay."
So like you're making a sci-fi movie, and there is a straight up alien indigenous creature on this, and that's not the movie.
Yeah,
that's wild. And it's not written well enough to be like the humans got to figure out their issues first. Because in the books, it sounds like that's what it is. The humans are figuring it out, and by the last book, it's like, no, we have to reckon with what we're doing to the indigenous creatures, and that sounds way more interesting.
Yeah,
than
it does.
This, where it's just like, there's him. He looks different than me. I'm gonna kill him. Well, it wasn't just that. He thinks that they killed his mom, but like, it's just not good. That's not good.
It's not. So, those are our takeaways.
Yeah, and I feel like it also wasn't done well too, where this woman crash lands in a colony of only men, and many of them have never seen a woman potentially, and it's not written well enough to make it feel like they're all being possessive over a woman. And then at one point though, they're like, you have to take her. You have to like they're telling Tom like what he needs to do, and like basically that she's his property / responsibility. Like, there's not enough of that to cover those themes of how men treat women.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
And so my big takeaway, though, is, folks, if you're going to write a sci-fi movie, go to another planet, make it have something interesting.
You personally travel to another planet to do your own research.
Well, I mean, and again, I just want to hammer the planet thing a little bit more.
Yeah, they need to personally go travel to one.
Yes, they do. But if you are going to do the single planet where the planet is a single landscape, make it interesting like Interstellar. They go to that planet where Dr. Mann is at, and it doesn't, I know they shot that on Earth, but I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And then when they go to the water planet, and then you see that gravity makes these huge waves, it's like, what? That's cool.
And it doesn't have to be super hard science to make it just sci-fi. Like,
Yeah.
you can throw some fantasy in there, too, in terms of how a planet works.
Yeah.
So that you don't, basically to get away with not explaining the minutia of everything.
Yeah. So,
And I gotta say, sci-fi, not easy.
it's not. I mean, I think sci-fi more than any other genre, if it is not done like at
11, cranked up to 11.
Yeah, a perfectly written sci-fi movie
Yeah.
could still be like not a very good movie.
I know.
Like, that's how good it has to be.
Yeah.
So, but it's also something that a lot of people are interested. I mean, if you're a writer, the chances are you enjoy sci-fi to some degree.
Yeah.
But it's something like you and I always talk about, and you always say, like, at least at this point in your life, you feel as though you couldn't write a sci-fi because you just couldn't, like,
Figure it out.
figure out
World
all that
building,
knowledge and world
yeah,
building.
all that. Yeah.
Like, you want your stories to exist in our world.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense. I mean, I think
Well, yeah, that's
tackling
also,
the sci-fi
yeah.
is like, it's hard.
It takes talent, specific brain,
Yeah.
and doing it a lot
Yeah.
to do. It's a lot of hard work.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And
You
this
know?
one didn't land.
No, it did not. It crash landed, and then you were able to read my thoughts, and I was unable to read yours.
Yep.
What do you think about that for a bonus episode, eh?
Spooky, huh?
I'll tell you what. If you want another bonus episode, you can go to patreon.com/MicahMcCaw, and you can listen to us talk about Kill Bill Volume 2. And next week, we'll be covering Scooby-Doo on our Patreon. So get on over there. Sign up for as little as $3 a month. Come on. Think about it.
Mhm.
Only $3. You won't even notice that.
Mhm.
You
Trick
won't.
or treat. Smell my feet. Give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care. Just sign up for Patreon.
Yeah. Actually, that we do have to say, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say this, but this is a trick or treat situation.
Yeah.
You got to treat us or we're going to trick you.
we're going to get you on Patreon somehow.
Thanks for listening.
Happy Halloween.